Hey everyone! It's been several months since I last filmed a watercolor video, and I've been wanting to paint in this gorgeous book again. In case you missed it, I do have a full flip-through of this watercolor with me in the Forest book by Dana Fox that I will link right here in case you're curious, but for today I will be painting the second prompt, which is a caterpillar. For today's prompt, I'll be using a Pentel Aquash water brush as well as this 12-piece Winsor and Newton Cotman watercolor palette. I do want to clarify that if you purchase this palette, it comes with a white, but I have since swapped it out for a Payne's Gray since I find that I typically don't reach for white very often. As a quick recap, each prompt includes a little introduction as well as suggested colors and supplies to use. It also includes a sample painting to reference, along with steps on how to achieve the result. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Step 1 is to start by filling in every other stripe with your main color. In the example included, the artist used sap green. However, I wanted to go for this more emerald green shade just for some more variance. You can use any color you want for this step. While I was painting this, I thought red would have been a very gorgeous color to try, or if you want something more fantastical, a vivid purple could be so whimsical and stunning. This wasn't included in the directions, but I wanted to add some shadows to the bottom half of the caterpillar to add more dimension. To do this, I mixed some of the main color with the complementary color, which in this case is red. This creates a soft neutral shadow that will harmoniously shade the bottom of the caterpillar and won't clash with the existing main color. I felt that this was necessary since I didn't want the painting to appear too flat or one-dimensional. Step 2 is to wait for the paint to dry and then paint the tree branch using raw umber. Add a darker shade of raw umber mixed with ivory black under the caterpillar for a shadow. Since this palette has burnt umber, I'm taking that shade and I'm painting a light layer onto the branch. For the shadow, I'm instead mixing some ultramarine blue in with the burnt umber rather than the suggested ivory black. The blue tone will help to deepen and neutralize the brown without adding a chalky appearance that black can sometimes add to a painting. Step 3 is to take yellow ochre and dab it onto each blank stripe along the body. Fortunately, this palette does include a yellow ochre, so I'm picking up some of that color and applying it on the blank stripes. The directions said to dab, but I personally don't think that it would have made a difference to dab it or to just color the entire stripe. To shade in the bottom parts of these stripes, I'm mixing the yellow ochre in with some burnt sienna to create a deeper warm brown. Again, not in the directions, but I felt that some shadow on the caterpillar itself was necessary. Step 4 says that once the yellow is dry, go in with a black ink pen or ivory black paint and fill the remaining areas beside the yellow spots to create the spotted stripes. Typical me would have gone for a black fine liner to really intensify and define the black details, but today I wanted to challenge myself to use only paint. I also decided to mix my own black by combining ultramarine, burnt umber, viridian hue, and alizarin crimson hue. Now, up until this point, I was feeling pretty good about the progress so far. However, once I actually started applying the paint, I wasn't really sure what I was doing. This was when I really had to analyze the reference painting in the book, and it was also the point where I was honestly getting a little frustrated with the instructions. Step 4 only mentioned adding the black dots next to the yellow to create the spotted look. But what was missing in the directions was to also add a black line down the middle of the green stripes, which may not be a big deal, but I felt like I was doing something wrong if I hadn't looked at the reference photo and really studied it. I could definitely tell that something was missing. So if you do have this book and are following the steps, it may be better to take them with a grain of salt, since you'll likely have to reference the sample to fill in any gaps that the instructions missed. Anyway, this whole process of adding the black paint was honestly my least favorite part. I felt very unsure of the placements and I was just painting on a whim at this point. At times, I had some serious doubt and was convinced I ruined the entire thing. However, as I kept going, I was starting to really see it take form, and I just had to keep telling myself to trust the process. As the layers dried, I went back in to deepen the spots, and I started to embrace the contrast that the black brought to the piece. Once the black had dried, I went in and added a deeper and more vivid green to the bottom of the stripes to intensify the saturation. I also deepened the bottom half of the yellow stripes with a darker, warm brown. To further intensify the shadows, I went in with a darker brown to enhance the shadow on the branch. I thought that with the intense black now in place, the rest of the painting needed some more contrast as well. Finally, for step 5, add leaves to the tree branch and finish the feet with black, adding white highlights afterwards. I mixed a light earthy green to paint the leaves and dabbed some yellow ochre over the feet instead. I felt like white would have clashed with the other colors and would have been a little bit too cold. Lastly, I'm just taking a fine liner to add the date since I always like to date my work. And here is the completed piece. I went ahead and dabbed and splattered some light washes of color around the painting to give it more of an artsy feel. Although there was definitely a point where I was doubting myself, I'm really happy with how this turned out. I really enjoyed painting it and watching it come to life. I had fun experimenting with a different color than the example and making this piece my own. I can honestly say that this is the first time I've ever painted a caterpillar, and I'm thankful it didn't turn out too bad. But let me know what you think. Would you try this prompt out? If you'd like to check out the first prompt I did, I'll link it right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.